Good morning. Welcome to our Back to School Tech Talk on Digital Citizenship. We're so excited that you're here with us today. We've got a lot of stuff planned for you in just 2.5 hours, so we don't want to take much of your summertime. But we want to thank you for being here, and we hopefully provide some discussions that you can really join in. So we're really excited that you're here, and we really want to talk about how we can make our students feel more comfortable using the technology they've got. So we're going to get started. A couple of housekeeping things. We are recording this session, and it's always going to be on our YouTube channel. And you can also find it on our website at techtraining.palmbeachschools.org. You can also find us on Twitter at edtechpbc. And you can also make comments in the chat over here on the left. You have to create a YouTube channel, but that's easy. You just click create it, and I already see the comments flying over here. That's great. We want you to be part of this discussion today, so feel free to chat, ask questions, make comments, talk about what you do in your classroom and where you're from today. And I love seeing that we've got so many people here already starting, and it's just going to keep on growing. I know it is. Couple more things. If you want to, we'd love to see, since we can't see you, we would love for you to do a workshop selfie. Do you know what a workshop selfie is? You grab your phone, got to get over here. There you go. And I'm going to take a picture of me and my screens. Oh, let's see if I can get it there. Yeah. Take a picture and post it to Twitter right there with a hashtag ETPBCPD and EdTechPBC. If you don't have Twitter and you don't want to get on Twitter, that's fine. You can email it to us, and we're going to put our contact information on our last slide about our team there, the EdTech training team. They'll be joining us a little bit shortly. So we're going to move into our presentation. So what's all this about digital citizenship? So we're going to talk about some of these keywords, and we're going to borrow some of Google's really cool stuff, Be Internet Awesome, but we're going to be using a lot of our curriculum from Common Sense Media. We're excited to have Common Sense Media with us today. So be smart, share with care, be alert, don't fall for fake, be secure, secure your secrets, secure that information, kind, it's cool to be kind, and brave. When in doubt, talk it out. And we'll share this poster with you on our website and a little bit later on too. So we're going to kick it off with a great person. She's been with us before, and she's talked a little bit about other stuff about teaching with design in mind. But today she's going to focus on digital citizenship. And so I want to introduce our good friend and colleague that's right here in Palm Beach County, which we're so thankful for. Her name is Tanya Averith from Adobe, and she's going to come on and talk about I believe she's talking about the why. Is that right, Tanya? You're muted, Tanya.
Whoever watches anything with me knows that it's not alive unless it's muted when I come in, and I forget every time. Digital citizenship, this is etiquette. I mute and I forget.
That was like the common word last year. You're on mute.
That's right. But it's good digital citizenship. I try to have etiquette when I'm online so that no one hears me in the background.
I understand. All right, Tanya, go ahead and kick it off.
Thank you so much, John. And thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. I'm always incredibly amazed that you, teachers, are so dedicated. It's your summer, you're still off, and here you are learning. And so thank you for that. Just before I even begin, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your year. Thank you for the work that you have done. Thank you for doing everything you do. I love teachers. And yes, I live here in Palm Beach County, and there's nothing like Palm Beach County's teachers. My children are public school students, and so I appreciate you and love you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm going to be sharing with you today my why, and I'll tell you about my journey. I'll speak to you about my relationship with digital citizenship, and I will be sharing with you some ideas, high level, to get started. The way that today's going to work is I'm going to be talking about the why, and then you have a special treat because after I'm done, you're going to be getting the what and how with Common Sense Media, who are literally the industry standard for teaching digital citizenship. So you're in for a great morning. So I'm going to get started with you right now. So this session originated as an idea of rebranding digital citizenship, and I'll kind of walk you through that in just a second. There we go. So who am I? Okay, well, as John mentioned earlier, I work at Adobe as their education evangelist, but I am a teacher first. I have been an educator, wow, now almost 16 years. I was a high school teacher. I've taught elementary school. I've taught middle school. I've worked as an instructional coach. I worked implementing one-to-one initiatives in 2010. I implemented my first digital citizenship program for the district that I worked at in Montreal in 2011. I wrote the curriculum for the district, which went on to being used for the basis of the curriculum for the Ontario and Quebec governments. So I've been working in this space for a while, talking about digital citizenship. I'm also the co-author of the Google Infused Classroom and the Microsoft Infused Classroom. So I've been working with technology and tools around using technology for a long time and have learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work. So I'm excited to be able to share that. And I'm so impressed with everyone who has kind of gone through this last year, figuring it out and really doing such amazing work. So I want to celebrate you for that. I'm also a community member, and I really consider myself an active member of the educational technology community. And that includes being part of amazing communities that are connected through some of our favorite tools. So I'm a Google Innovator and an Apple Distinguished Educator as well. And of course, an education leader for Adobe. So I'm pleased to share my thoughts and stories and learnings with the community that I work with, and to bring it with other communities like yourself when I present. But what's my real resume? Well, my real resume really is more along these lines, right? I am a mom and a dog mom. I have I'm going to talk about my pups first. I have two amazing puppies. I have my Ringo, who you see, he literally is a puppy. He's huge. He's my Bernedoodle, and Lenny. We're big Beatles fans. So the Beatles, we name all our dogs after the Beatles over the years. And of course, I'm a proud mother of a rising 5th grader and 8th grader here in Palm Beach County. So I'm so excited this year that they will be in school, which is amazing. I am a Montreal transplant to Florida. So I was devastated this year. I'm not going to lie. My husband literally cried during the playoffs because Tampa, as you know, took home the Stanley Cup. It was devastating. But we're going to have to just go for next year, right? Little known fact about me, I actually purchased my children's domains, their .coms, before naming them when I was pregnant. So I own my daughter and son's .coms. Fun fact, my son is also has the same name as a professional world-renowned UFC fighter, and that guy doesn't own his .com. My son, who's 10, does. So yes, I am that crazy. And I've been thinking about this stuff for a long time. And I'm a DigCit old timer. Like I mentioned, I've been presenting and talking about digital citizenship forever. Merv, I presented my very first keynote at Microsoft maybe 10 years ago, or it was a bomb. I seriously bombed. I'm hoping I'll be able to make it up to Merv to tell him that I actually can present. It was horrible, but I went to Microsoft, presented, and flopped. Everyone has to have a flop story. But I've been to Google, I've been to Facebook. I discussed digital citizenship at Facebook 10 years ago. So this is stuff that I've been doing and speaking about for a very long time. So I'm so thrilled to bring some of that ideas and some of the learnings over the time with you today. So this is what we will be discussing. In this session, I tried to keep it really high level. We will understand what digital citizenship is and why it is important to teach. I'm going to talk a little bit about the idea of teaching reactive and proactive digital citizenship. That's kind of how I'm framing it right now, because there is a bit of a difference, and not that one is bad and one is not. It's just to understand the thinking and philosophy between the two. And then I'm not going to get into the what, but I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the skills that we might teach our modern digital citizens. And then I planned an awesome, fun exit ticket using Adobe Spark that I'm going to share with you, which is your digital citizenship action plan. So hopefully you guys will love that, and you'll be able to share that on Twitter or with your colleagues, or email it to the EdTech team. All right, so let's get going. Now, I don't actually, I'm not, I do see your comments. How exciting. Okay, so I want you to, actually, no, I think this is going to go in the Menti, if I'm not mistaken. So when you hear digital citizenship, what word comes to mind? So please share that on menti.com using the code 72567482. Please participate. It makes it so much more fun when we see your responses. I'll give you a moment so that you can put that in. So when you hear the word digital, when you hear digital citizenship, what word comes to mind? Awesome. So I'm going to give you a moment and let's see what pops up. This is so much fun. I really like this Menti thing. This is great. All right. So we have responsibility. Okay. So remember, you're going to menti.com and you're putting in code 72567482. This is great. Oh, look at you guys. You're rock stars. All right. So responsible, respectful, ethical, caring, online safety, manners, etiquette, cautious. Yes, absolutely. Appropriate. Respect. Yes. Manners, kindness. So etiquette. Yes. So we see a lot of that, like ethical, safety, online, kindness. And that is definitely important. And I see a lot, wow, responsibility really stands on its own here, right? Being responsible, being thoughtful, being, caring, online tattoo, I love it, evaluator, support, cautious, wonderful. So when we hear the word digital citizenship, very often, those are a lot of the ideas that pop into our mind, right? Well, I wonder, like, very often from the student's perspective, what they think of when they think of how we imagine them as digital citizens. So I'm not sure if you've ever seen this video, but this is really a funny video. And I want you to listen very carefully, because this is a real video that was on the Today Show many, many moons ago. And they're talking about, well, actually, I'll let you hear.
I wasn't prepared to translate that. As I was doing that little tease. That little mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At?
See, that's what I said. Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard it. I'd never heard it said. I'd always seen the mark, but never heard it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
I heard the around or about the lunchroom.
See, there it is. Violence at NBC. GE.com. I mean.
Well, Allison should know.
What is internet anyway?
Internet is the massive computer network, the one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big? How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
No, she can't say anything in 10 seconds or less.
Oh, Allison will be in the studio shortly.
What is it?
the name?
It's a giant computer network made up of started from.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us what this was.
It's like a
Look at the
computer
dictionary.
billboard.
It's not it's a computer billboard, but it's
Right.
nationwide. It's several university members all joined together.
Right.
And others can access it.
Right.
And it's getting bigger and bigger.
Just
It came in really handy during the quake. A lot of people, that's how they were communicating out to.
Okay. So I that's before 2007. I love that video because think about it. That's what we sound like to our students when we talk about the internet to them. Let's be real, okay? That is absolutely what we sound like when we're talking about TikTok, about the internet, about anything that's connected to their world. So when we go in saying to them, you need to be careful, you need to be cautious, you need to be responsible, and we ourselves are like, that's what we sound like to them, we have to think about how we come across, right? So I want to pause for a second. I'm not saying it in a mean way, but I want to take a step back. I want to talk to you a little bit about my journey in this space, because I did mention to you that I have been presenting about digital citizenship for over a decade now. And I want to kind of tell you a little bit about how I got started in this space in general. This is literally the kickoff to my career because I started in the ed tech world talking about digital citizenship very early on. And it actually began for me in 2007. Now, I want, some of you might have been in high school students yourself in 2007. I'm starting to age myself. Some of you might have already been teaching for several years. So I want to actually, I see the chat. I would love for you to share with me in 2007, what do you remember your teaching journey? Were you a student? Were you a teacher? Can you put yourself in that headset space of 2007 and remember what your classroom was like? Because I remember what my classroom was like in 2007, and I remember that year really clearly. So it was a very interesting year. It was a year where I had a lot of students starting to come in with their cell phones to class. It wasn't that they had iPhones at the time. Those were too expensive for most kids. And a lot of students now were starting to bring in their phones, and they were constantly looking at their legs and under the table. And it was a time when my students were really getting into texting. It was also the beginning, and I don't know about you guys, but 2007, 2008, that was the first year that I had a student come into my class. I taught media, okay? And my student came into my class and was like, Miss Avrith, have you heard of Facebook? And I was like, what is the Facebook? So I was like, oh my God, she was a junior. She came in, she was telling me about this new thing. Everybody's on it, everybody's on it. And I was like, oh my God, what is this thing? So I went home and I went onto the internet, and I was cool, I was hip, I was young. I was like, I'm gonna find this out. And I went on and I made an account on Facebook. And I remember Facebook at the time, it was like this place where everyone told you about how they felt. There was no conversation about too TMI, sharing too much. Nobody knew anything. This space was wild. It was wild. And I remember hearing about students doing all these crazy things. And I was hearing more and more from my students about things that people were saying, things that people were sharing. And then one day, my 11th grade class, the same class, this is a few months later, comes into the class, and one of my students plops himself down, and he's so mad. And I'm like, what is going on? And he's like, Miss Avrith, so-and-so has been expelled from school. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And he was like, so here's what happened. And let me go back. I'm kind of flipping back and forth. So there was our neighboring school. So I taught at one school, Riverdale. There was a school that was literally the next school over. And what happened was this group of students created a burn book. Remember Mean Girls? Well, they did it for their teachers on a group in Facebook. And it was holy Toledo. I mean, it made the news. It was crazy. And this happened, it was May 15th, and my kids were sitting in my room and they were freaking out like, how do they have any right to do that? That's what we do on our private time. And it's interesting because guys, we're literally having these conversations with adults now about what you post, what you don't post, private versus what's private, what can you say? I mean, this conversation is literally happening in front of our eyes and it's unfolding in the most insane, epic way. But this was happening with my 11th graders in 2007. And so my kids were like, so mad. And then I remember going like, wait, hold on, guys. You can't just post your ideas on the web because everyone can see them. Like, yes, well, hold on. Yes, you can. You can post anything you want, but you gotta be willing to accept the consequences of what you're gonna say. And that's the thing that goes for today. You can share anything. You have the right to say things. For sure, we live in America, freedom of speech, for sure. But you have to be prepared to accept whatever the fallout is. And as 11th graders, they weren't necessarily ready to accept the fallout. And they weren't necessarily ready and thinking about the consequences that would occur after they shared their thoughts. And so we are still in that same moment. We're still in the 2007 moment where we have to consider what are the consequences of our actions. And we still need to have these conversations with kids because year after year after year, we're going to have mix-ups. We're going to say things. We're going to do things. And we need to learn when it's appropriate to say the things we want to say and when is it not? When is the risk? When does the risk outweigh the consequence? And when are we willing to go to bat for what we believe in and say it? And really, really, when is it worth it? And so those are conversations I have with my students. And in 2007, on literally the day, May 15th, I remember, because at the time I was like not having these conversations. If anything, I was like banning everything. I was like, give me your cell phone, put it in the box. Like, don't come in my room. I don't want to talk about the internet. I was doing it at home. But I realized early on that like there was no way I could separate myself from these conversations. And that was actually the day that I was like, all right, people, we're going to talk about this. And more than talk about it, we're going to use it. And so I want to talk a little bit about that because that was the wild, wild west now in 2007, right? Like that was, there were no conversations. Like I remember finding Common Sense Media shortly after and being like, wow, there's this organization that's actually thinking about this and talking about it. But it was not what it is today because nobody really knew what was going on in there. And there were no rules, there were no laws. So we're still catching up. But I'd like to think instead of wild, wild west, now we've moved past that. Now our students are in the new frontier and they have made it so incredible and so interesting and it's not all so bad. So we're going to look at that in a second. But we have to think like that evolution. Okay, so how crazy is that? First of all, how crazy was that transition? And it happened so fast. But did you notice that was 2014? Like this thing is so dated and we're still catching up with it, right? So this transition has happened so fast that it makes sense that we were like caught with our like deer lights or what is it, headlights on. And we're like, what is happening? Because it was such a crazy transition. Hey, one of my dog puppies stop that, wants to join. Right? It was a crazy transition. Yes, it was. Here, let me out. That's what he said. Go, go, go. Shh. Again, what would a presentation with me be if my dogs didn't bark at least once? So a lot of those shifts happened fast. And what ended up happening for us was that they didn't catch up with our students.
We're talking
with
about
us.
cybersecurity today and how safe people's passwords are. What is one of your online passwords currently?
It is my dog's name and the year I graduated from high school.
Oh, what kind of dog do you have?
I have a Chihuahua Papillon.
And what's its name?
Jameson.
Jameson. And where did you go to school?
I went to school back in Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
What school?
Hempfield Area Senior High School.
Oh, when did you graduate?
In 2009.
Oh, great.
It's like my cat's name and then just like a random number.
Okay. Have you had this cat for a while?
Yeah, she's my childhood pet.
Aw. And what's her name?
Her name is Jolie.
Jolie.
Mm-hmm.
So like a password of yours would be Jolie and then a number.
Yeah.
Like number 1.
Like my birthday.
Oh, when is your birthday?
June 12th.
Oh, nice. What year were you born?
95.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
So Jolie, 6, 12, 95.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay. So, and I mean, we've had a lot of conversations with kids. Those are adults, right? And I think we've come a long way. Like, these are a little bit dated in videos. Oh my God, I hope we've come a little bit of a long way. But we're still in a space where these conversations are still needed, right? We're still in a space where we have to teach kids about what it means to be a digital citizen, right? And I actually was like, well, what does it even mean to be a digital citizen? So I went on to dictionary.com and I looked it up, and it said a person who develops the skills and knowledge to effectively use the internet and other digital technology, especially in order to participate responsibly in social and civic activities. We're teaching students how to become good digital citizens. So I think this is actually a pretty good overarching overview of what it means to be a digital citizen. But I want to take it a little further for a second, because I think that we can go even further with our thinking when it comes to teaching digital citizenship, because there is the idea of being I've kind of put it into these two categories of reactive versus proactive digital citizenship. And I would love for us to get to a point where we are teaching in a proactive way as opposed to a reactive way. Because when I had my students in 2007 come to class and all hell break loose because of things that were happening online, that was when I was like, oh boy, I got to teach them. But had I flipped that and was teaching in a different way and had been inclusive of the tools and inclusive of the thinking and inclusive of the technology, then I probably wouldn't have had those issues with my students, and we probably would have had those conversations a lot earlier. So let's take a look at what that is. Now, I told you, over the years, I have had many experiences teaching digital citizenship. I started off in 2007, just now, where I was sharing with you my journey at the very. Let's fast forward now, because now I want to take you to 2018. Okay, so 2018, fast forward, we're talking 11 years later. I now have moved to Florida, and I have been working in Florida for 4 years at that point, because I moved to Florida in 2014. And I had been working in different schools, and I'd been consulting, and I'd been doing lots of different things, but I took a full-time position teaching personal branding and digital communication at North Broward Prep, which is just down Lyons Road in Coconut Creek. And this course is really fascinating. I didn't start it. It was there before I came, but what I did is I revamped the curriculum a little bit. And the whole premise of the class was this. And by the way, it's a mandatory class for high school students to graduate. It's a phenomenal class. And the idea is this: one day you're going to be Googled, not if, but when. And when you are, how are you leveraging technology and social media to tell your story? Whoa, right? Now, when we talk about being reactive versus proactive, this is really in that framing of proactive. So at the beginning of the class, I always start the year with the students, asking them, my first lecture, I come in and I ask them these 3 questions. What are the top 3 words that define you? So I actually want you in the chat to if you don't mind, to participate in that, okay, with me for a second. I promise I'm going somewhere with it. So what are the top 3 words that define you? So I ask this question because I think it's so relevant to the conversations that we have with kids when we talk about being digital citizens. Like, what does it mean to be a digital citizen? Yes, it means, you know, here, let me go back for a second. It means a person who develops the skills and knowledge to effectively use the internet and other digital technology, especially in order, I like this part, to participate responsibly in social and civic activities. Okay, to participate responsibly. All right. Now, when we think about that for a second, and we say, well, what are the words that define us? That's a really powerful statement to ask kids. And it's hard for them because they're still developing their identities, right? So when we think about the words that we want to feel represent us and who we are, and capture some of the essence of how we want to be seen and remembered, that's very powerful. And teachers feel very close to this idea of how we are going to be remembered because we leave legacies. Teachers leave legacies. They can't help it any other way, right? We are remembered. We are remembered for good, for bad, for ugly, but we are remembered. And that is what we do. And that's part of the reason that we become teachers, because we have our oh captain moment and of inspiration of why we want to be there in the first place. But we want to inspire our kids the same way. We want them to think about, how am I going to be remembered? Right? And so now they're remembered in many different ways. They have an opportunity to either leave a legacy in the best way imaginable and remembered in one way, or they can be remembered in a very different way. And that's what we do. But in the past, we would be remembered and forgotten. But now we are remembered forever because our memories are digitized. Our thoughts, our ideas, they are no longer just placed on paper. They are placed in, never mind ink, they are digital, and they are so quickly twisted and moved. And so those thoughts, they're no longer just for us, they're there. So I want us to so what I have my students do is I have them and I'm watching all of this honest, fair, kind, creative, loving, organized, understanding, curious, mindful, efficient, compassionate, yes. And this is what happens with my kids. They post these ideas. But then what I have them do is I have them Google these two people. I start with Samantha Goody, and no disrespect, Samantha, to her in any way, shape, or form, but Samantha was a college student. Okay, and I use this as an example, and I'm not trying to shame her, but this is her reality. Okay, Samantha was a college student who had a bad day, the worst day of her life. And as a college student, she made a huge mistake, and that mistake will haunt her for the rest of her life. And I don't do this to upset anyone or to put her in a bad light, but the reality is this could be any one of us. It could be me, it could be you, it could be anyone. We could have a bad day and we make a mistake, and that mistake goes on forever. And I share this because, not because I want to freak them out, but because they have to understand that, like, do those words that we see right now on the screen define Samantha? Does she see herself and remember herself this way? No, there's no, if I were to say to Samantha, how do you view yourself? What are the words that define you? That this would be how she is defined. And there's no way she could be defined in this way, right? But unfortunately, if I was a high school principal, and there might be some of you watching, and you Googled Samantha Goody, if she was a second grade teacher and you found this, I don't know what to say, but odds are she probably wouldn't get the job. I'm sorry. And she could be the best teacher on the planet, but there's a good chance that this could ruin her chances. And so we don't want to take those risks because the consequence of her action outweighs the moment that she was in to do it. And so this is the thoughts that I want our kids to be thinking about. Now I want to go a little further because that's reactive. Like, now we have to teach us. But let's talk about a proactive approach. Beverly Pham. I love her, okay? This is one of my favorite examples of proactive digital citizenship. Beverly Pham was a high school senior. And I happen to know of her because David Terrio was her English teacher in her senior year, and he happens to be a friend of mine from my communities, my EdTech communities. And so I follow him on Twitter, and I found this tweet, and I was like, whoa, this is incredible. Now, this was in 2014. Okay. And Beverly fam, this was like unheard of. You don't see high school students on Twitter tweeting their resumes. I was like, what is going on? And so I looked into it a little further. And as I looked into it a little further, she shared a little more. And she said, so Brad, who's also a friend of mine from my networks, he wrote, great work. Any tips for my students? Now, I want to point something out for you for a moment, okay? Just to give you some perspective of Beverly. Beverly, from what I understood, was a high school senior who applied to colleges and was not getting accepted. Beverly was not necessarily an A plus student, and she didn't necessarily test well. Does that sound like so many of our kids? Yeah, because those tests are crazy and they don't necessarily represent who we are, and they don't tell our story in the best way. And so Beverly, who happened to be mad creative and have really savvy digital citizenship skills, like media literacy, like creative skills, like so many of our kids today, decided, I'm not gonna let my grades represent me. Those aren't the words that define me. That doesn't define who I am. I'm gonna take control. And so Beverly created this.
My mailbox is empty every single day, not an acceptance to be seen. My dream school is USC, but I guess it's not for me. All of my life I've dreamed of cardinal and gold. I sent my comment happy and knows I tried.
Well, I can't go into the whole thing because we don't have a lot of time. So she made this parody, okay? And it's of let it, and she says, can't hold me back anymore, let it go. So she ended up posting this video and tagging people at USC because that was her dream school. And she got rejected when she first did it. But when they saw her parody, guess what happened? You're looking at it. Beverly got in, not because of her grades, not in a traditional way. She got into her program because she was persistent, because she knew how to use social media, because she was a creator, because she knew how to network, because she knew how to tag. So many of those skills that a lot of our students do actually have, or are skills that can be taught. And she took it on her own and she got in. And not only did she get in, but she went on later on. And this actually, I went on her Twitter just yesterday. And I was like, holy Toledo, she had been interviewed by USC just recently. She now works at Fox as a reporter. And she has a sports career that was her dream, and she got in, and now she's even telling future people what you need to do to get in. And I was like, mind blown, like this is amazing, because this is a proactive approach to teaching digital citizenship. And what I teach my kids is this: what do you find when you Google yourself? What's one of the first things that I have them do? And very often when we are in a reactive place of teaching kids, we go, don't post anything, don't share anything, don't put anything, keep it on lockdown, don't share a word, don't say anything. No. Okay, now here's the problem with that. I understand we have to be cautious. And of course, with young kids, we have to teach them how to, when it's appropriate. And when they're young, they shouldn't be posting anything. But as they get older, now we got to teach them skills so that they can choose how they want to share things, so that they understand when they want to share things, because ultimately they want to write their own stories. They want to know, we need to teach them how to do that, right? We need to give them the time and space to learn how to make things and create and share. And then when they are ready to post those things into a space where they want the world to see it. Because here's the reality. I would say to my students, what happens? What do you find when you Google yourself? Do you find good things? Do you find bad things? Do you find anything? Because You want to find the good things. You don't want to find the bad things. And the truth is, if it's not you that you're finding and it's someone else, who's then writing your story? Okay, you want to be the creator of your story. And so we want to get kids to be creators. All right, so I'm going to skip this for a second. I want to get into it because I want to talk about being global citizens, and that's equally as important. But I also want us to think about it from this perspective, right? What are the top 3 words that you want to be defined by? Because that's a different question. What defines you and how do you want to be defined? So how do you control your message? How do you control what you're saying? How do you control what you're doing? Because those are the skills of a modern digital citizen. Those are the skills of rebranding digital citizenship, because we are providing our students with those skills. So we want to teach them how to be creators. We want to teach them how to design. We want to teach them how to communicate effectively. These are the skills that I was teaching. We want to teach them how to present, right? How to have polish when they present. We want to teach them how to network. We want to teach them how to organize their digital space, how to work within that flow, and how to work and use different tools together. So the things that I would do with my kids were really like getting them to create their portfolios. I would have them creating logos. I would have them creating stories. And by the way, I'm sharing this really quickly because I'm at time, but I have a Wakelet collection that has all of these resources that I'm just sharing. These are my kind of tips for getting started. I have this great lesson called Got Spark Now What? And what it is it's your first 3 lessons of creating your logo, your digital video, your about me video, and a portfolio. So I would get my kids to create and have the conversations of digital citizenship and the importance of telling your story through their creations. Yes, so you can access all these resources. I would give them the time and space to create beautiful content. So it's no longer just this thing that we do at the end of a unit. We teach through creation. We get them to create and show what they know and demonstrate their learning so that they have the skills to understand how to be those creators. And I would get them to tell those stories.
People always tell me that I have an old soul and a creative mind, that I was born athletic and academic, but they don't see me practicing, studying, drawing, and they don't see my sketchbooks. But I wouldn't be here without my friends, my team, or my family, because we all start somewhere.
I love this. I love Savannah sharing about herself as a learner, being able to articulate who she is, be able to tell that story. And so these are the skills, that I was teaching my students through creation, having them create these beautiful works of art to tell the stories of their history. This was a student of mine, Savannah, who was using Spark Page and having her interviewed her grandfather who saved Jews during the Holocaust. And just like these skills of telling these stories, of understanding how to leverage the media, how to bring an audience back to your work, how to tell a story. And look at that, there's the video at the end, so that people will want to view what you have to say. Those are the skills that we want to be teaching our students. And so if I would always say to my students, if I publish this, would my audience come back to my work? And I think that is a really important statement to make with kids, because we are no longer just saying don't post, but how do I post in such a way so that people actually will come back to my work? How can I post something so that I can communicate with impact in the way that I want it to be heard and seen, right? And so these are strategies that I think really take that notion of digital citizenship from reactive to proactive. I would also get my students to post their work on social media. So this is a really great example. This was, and keep in mind, I was at a school that really promoted this. So this really has to be about a relationship with your parents. But in my class, my students had to have Twitter accounts because I was teaching them how to network. Okay. And so what I had them do is, as they were creating their stories, I had some students like Christian, who not only was he like bought in, but he created his Twitter account and then added his personal story to his Twitter account, because he's tweeting out to college scouts. He's tweeting out to coaches and to soccer teams because he wants to play in college soccer. And so when he tweets, he uses hashtags and he's networking. And so he knows that now he's telling his story and he's curating the story that he wants other people to see. And so it's a really interesting take on that whole notion of, digital citizenship, right? Teaching them to be responsible by getting them to be creators and tellers of their own stories. Psst. By the way, if you're looking for help to get going on these skills and you're not sure about them, there's a great resource called the edX, and there's all these self-paced courses that will walk you through a lot of these digital literacy skills. So feel free to check those out. And then finally, and this is my last one and I'm closing up, then this is the easiest thing you can do as you're thinking about getting back to school, because those are a little more high level, but the very most important thing that you can do with your students is have them co-create the rules with you at the beginning of the school year. We all remember Harry Wong, right? And the first days of school. Well, what did he say? Who is doing the learning and the talking? It should be the student. Okay, that was one. And second, we don't create rules, we create guidelines. And we do it with our students. And this is like old school teacher 101 stuff, but this still held so true to today. And so what I would have my students do is they would create pledge videos at the very, very beginning of the school year. And you can do this with Spark Video. You can have them creating an infographic that talks about the procedures or pledge for the year. But I did this with kindergarteners and 12th graders. We co-create the acceptable use guidelines in our class, and they would look something like this. And we're gonna leave it at that because we're gonna talk more about it.
I will keep my laptop safe at all times.
Power here, right,
I will charge
John?
my laptop every night and bring it to school. I will never put my computer on my head. Instead, I'll hold it in a hugging pose at all times. I will ask my parents for permission before adding stickers and wallpaper. I will always keep my passwords private. I will always ask for permission when using Hangouts or chat. I will be kind and mindful of others when I'm online. I will ask for permission when taking pictures of my friends before posting. I will not share private information like my full name, my address, and my birthday. Let's all be great digital citizens and have a great year. Bye. Thank you for watching.
So, John, I've left all this in that Wakelet collection for everybody, including this Hyperdoc. That this is actually the activity that I used with that group of students. So they can try this out at the very beginning of the school year. And last but not least, John, this is an action plan, and I won't get into it, but it's linked on my Wakelet collection. So if you guys want to participate in creating your own action plan after watching the next few sessions today, it's a remix template using Adobe Spark Post, and I've created it for you, and you can just take it and make it your own, and you can create your own digital citizenship action plan. Not right after this session, but at the end of the day, thinking about what you've learned and how you might apply it into your curriculum, into your program this year, thinking about in 5 days, in 5 weeks, and in 5 months. So it's a great way of kind of consolidating your ideas. And by the way, you can use this with your students as well, creating these templates. So I hope you guys have a wonderful journey this year. I know this has been my journey, but we're always on that digital citizenship journey. So thank you, John, for letting me come on. I'm sorry I went over. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You've got some great resources, and I love that last couple of things that you shared with you. Those were very important. By the way, we're going to put all those resources starting this afternoon on our Back to School Tech Talk. So all you have to do is go to edtech.publicschools.org. And right at the very top left, it says Back to School Tech Talk. And so all you have to do is click on that link, and those resources will start showing up this afternoon. I'll make sure all those links are, because that's important stuff that you can get started with right away. All right. So this is our schedule for the day. Thank you, Tanya. We really thank you for being here. That was awesome. We're going to switch gears and go into another couple things. And we're going to give you a little 5-minute stretch break starting right now, but this is the schedule. It's actually on the website as well. We've got the Common Sense Media folks. I'm really excited to hear it. But let's get to that actual stretch break, and we'll see you in 5 minutes. And we're back. Thank you for joining us. We really are so happy that you're here. We want to go ahead and ask another Menti question while we're getting started. What is your biggest challenge with your students regarding digital citizenship? Just click that link and just start putting in the responses and see where it's going to go. Because we know that digital citizenship isn't easy. It's something that we've got to work at, and it's got to be something that we got to work at not just once a year, but all through the year. With all of these devices and with students having so many devices and they've been accessing all those devices for the past 2 years, I mean, oh, it just blows my mind what I've heard about with students and stuff like that. And we want to see what you think about your biggest challenge. Keeping them engaged, of course, yes. Yes, definitely. And I love some of the stuff that Tanya suggested with Adobe Spark, like the self-pledge. You can use Flipgrid. Flipgrid would be awesome. I'm going to show you some really cool stuff with Flipgrid a little bit later. We're going to show you some other stuff. Be careful with what they post. Yes. Middle school, high school, elementary school. Yes. All right. So those are some things that we're going to do. Anybody else got something? There's lots of challenges. I know there's going to be lots of challenges. And so getting students to respecting others' opinions, awesome. Just keep on with those responses. And we're going to switch over to our Common Sense Media folks are here with us. And so we're going to bring them up and get started with their section. Oh, yes, getting time I teach to teach digital citizenship, academics testing. Yes, a lot of that stuff can be done together. You know, as you're teaching main idea, let them talk about things about digital citizenship in an article. What's the main idea of an article? Definitely. All right. So we have 2 outstanding speakers that we are going to have with us right now from Common Sense Education. One is Merv Lopez. He is a vice president there, and there's Merv, and he was so gracious to get up and from the West Coast and join us at 6:50 a.m. So thank you, Merv. And we have Tali Hollerwitz that's also from Common Sense. And Tali, you're muted, so I want to make sure you're unmuted.
Hi.
And guys, we're just going to let you get started.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Let me just quickly, before we get started, literally everything Tanya was just talking about earlier, when something happens with tech and everything, as soon as I got prepared to share a screen, my entire Chrome shut down. So thank you for filling in. You totally guys made it all work. It felt all real. You all probably didn't even know what was happening in the back end. But so is how it goes and how you react to it. And so much of digital citizenship is also, as you're bringing technology into your classrooms and using it as a primary form of instruction and learning and living, so much of it is how you react and treat it as much as it is a utility and a tool and a resource. So just thank you for being here. Thank you for bearing with me through all this. But let's move forward. So thank you again for the intros.
We're glad to have you.
Yeah, totally. Well, we are happy to be here. So my name again, Merv Lapis. I'm the Vice President of Outreach and National Partnerships for Common Sense. And here I have Tali. Tali, you want to give a quick intro?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having us. Merv, it's great to see you too. I am based in the East Coast. I work in New York. I'm a former classroom teacher, and I'm also a parent. And so everything we're talking about today, I am living and experiencing on multiple levels, and just delighted to be here. So thank you.
Yeah, and so one of the easiest things that we want to be able to do is provide you so how do I do these things? Tanya just gave you guys so many great examples of what to think about and how to use these things. And how to talk about digital citizenship, make it part of your practice, make it a part of your ongoing type of discussion and culture in your school, in your classroom, and even your community. And so we wanted to make sure we can give you really easy ways to take these things, bring them back into your classrooms, whether you have full classroom time or just a short amount of time. How could you actually extend these kinds of conversations in a meaningful way and really make them a part of the way that you learn and live? So one easy way is on Common Sense. Tanya mentioned this earlier as one of our resources, and thank you for seeing us as the gold standard in digital citizenship. It is what we do is really focus on providing you high quality resources, and so everything is free for educators on our site. So please feel free to register on our website and be able to gain full access to all of our resources as we go through them. But to give you a little high level, who are we as an organization? If you've not ever heard of Common Sense, we are a national nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the lives of kids and families by providing trustworthy information, education, and an independent voice when it comes to navigating media and technology in our world. And we do that in 3 core ways. We rate, educate, and advocate. So Common Sense Media is your place to go, whether you're a parent, caregiver, or even educator looking for high quality media. We rate and evaluate through what's developmentally appropriate for kids, and something that could be PG-13 that you want to show in class or at home may actually not be appropriate for your particular 13-year-old because of different content reasons that might be in their language or anything else. We want to make sure you are making the most informed decision before you make that decision. And so that's one way that we do that work in the media side, as well as curating high quality resources and tools and media for you all. On the education side, our big focus is really providing educators and education communities the resources that they need to be able to address how technology plays a role in the way that they're instructing and building community. And so that goes from digital citizenship research and resources, all the way to curating and understanding really pedagogically what are really good high-tech resources that we can be using in our classroom to meet this need, and really to propel learning forward and opportunities to better assess where my kids are. And again, like Tanya was mentioning, how do we help kind of innovate that practice and really better understand our kids? And then lastly, none of this can happen if we don't have strong policies in place that are thinking about our kids as #1 priority. And so our kids action work really is focused on looking at things like the digital divide and privacy, and ensuring that the tools and the resources we're putting in front of our kids are putting them first and foremost, and that you as an educator can feel confident in the resources that you're providing to them. So that's who we are in a nutshell as an organization. But Tali, what do we want to take away from today?
Yeah, so for the next about 35 minutes or so, we're really hoping to focus on 3 things. So first, we want to think about what's motivating you to teach digital citizenship. I know I feel super motivated after Tanya's keynote. Thank you. And we're hoping to further motivate you. And then we're going to look at some resources. And again, finding a lot of different resources, figuring out what works best for you and your students in your community. And then we really want to leave you with ideas of where to begin and get started.
Awesome. So first things first, and so you guys are filling this out earlier in the Menti. So if you haven't started filling it out yet, here's a QR code. Pull out your phone or open up a second screen if you've got that skill in being able to open up another screen or another tab. And we want you to be able to just answer, like, what concerns do you have about going one-to-one or being one-to-one? And then we have a couple questions that we're going to be following up all here on Menti. So I'll be progressing it forward for you all so we can see it. And actually, I haven't opened up that Menti yet because of my issue that I was running into. I am going to stop sharing for 1 second just so I can jump into the Menti. And let me just make sure that it is up and present. And here we go. All right. So what concerns do you have about going one-to-one? Again, if you fill out this Menti, and the code is 150722 and 9, right?
And I always appreciate, Merv, getting that sneak peek of your girls in the background too when you screen share for a moment.
Always with me. They're always going to be with me. I always look forward to that. So concerns, things that as you are going one-to-one, or that you might already be doing one-to-one, like what are things that you're actively seeing, things that you're going to want to address, issues that might be coming up, especially as technology is like heavily in the forefront of the way that you're using it in the classroom, or just really, anything that you don't want to have to run into. How can you be proactive about addressing some of these things?
Yeah, and I think that comfort is really key, being comfortable with the technology with students, for sure, thinking about how you're meaningfully integrating it.
For sure. So integrating it, thank you. Through this technology has finally gotten to this point. Yeah. Being comfortable with technology, share with my students. I think that's one of the hard parts too, right, Tali? Like, I mean, as an educator in the classroom for many years, and now seeing where technology is coming, playing its role.
Right. Yeah, and I know when I've been with students, a lot of times, I'll always have a kid, or at least a few, who are more comfortable than I am. And I've tried to use that as a learning opportunity to be like, great, show me, teach me what you know how to do too.
Yeah. Great. So
yeah.
Sensitive topics, balance screen time, successfully integrate movie making to the classroom, for sure. So for the sake of time, because we've got a lot of things we want to cover, encourage you, we can share this out. You'll have access to the Menti actually anyway. But we wanted to get to the next one. Tali, what is the next question here?
The next one is, now we're going to ask you to think about the opportunities. What are you excited about going one-to-one? So we obviously have a lot of concerns that you've started outlining. What are you looking forward to?
Yeah.
And I know Tanya highlighted some of these too.
For sure. For sure. And I think what's important to recognize is we are not all in the same place. You don't have to try, great examples. And I already felt like that one, the student, that fam that went to USC, I'm like, man, leaps and bounds above anything I've ever done, even on the digital side. But even just committing, like, I'm looking forward to just being able to have a single place where my kids and I can, really collaborate together. Awesome, right? So it doesn't have to be huge. It could just be a baby step. And that's already progressing into bringing digital citizenship a little more to the forefront, a part of the conversation, a part of the experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm loving seeing the creativity pieces coming up, digital equity. Yeah, less stressful year. Yes. Cheers to that.
Yeah, these word clouds are so fun. Yeah, independent work, having a great year, creativity, and Tanya loves that. More engaged projects, less stressful, and it will continue to move and learn. Digital equity, oh, for sure, that's awesome. Yeah, so there's a lot to look forward to. And like I mentioned earlier, it is great to be able to look at opportunities that you can come in together as a school or as a district, or even just as a learning network of educators to kind of see, what are you doing, how are you doing it, and helping to push those opportunities forward. But we do know that it does start with just understanding and knowing, like, what is it that we want to address? What is it that we want to be able to focus on? So I'm going to bring us back to the, where is the presentation?
Well, and I think as you're doing that too, Merv, something that I appreciate as well, and I know we're using Menti throughout this presentation, is that to me is another great way to get student voices in, because I saw that showing up pretty prominently. It's a tool that you can use. It's free. It's a great way to get students to share. You've got all the different ways, and it can be anonymous, and you as the educator can decide whether or not to show it with the class, but you can get that quick snapshot. So we're going to talk now a little bit about what it means to be a digital citizen. I know you all shared at the beginning your definitions of this, and then Tanya shared a definition, and we just wanted to share how we define it at Common Sense. And we really think about it and, highlighting that critical thinking part about both the opportunities and the challenges of the digital world, and really using that technology responsibly. I know that came up a lot for everyone, and really focusing on that learning piece, and that creating piece that so many of you have just shared about, and that participation, so that it's really about that active involvement and engagement.
And what I think is really important about this is recognizing that these things don't necessarily just come out of nowhere, right? These are things that have to be taught, shared, and reinforced, especially for our kids, our students, because the reality is they are not yet wired to really think long term. I mean, that is something that's developing still in their brains. And those are things that happen all up here in the prefrontal cortex. And that doesn't even start developing until you're, for most women, you're looking at late teens, early 20s for most men, mid to late 20s. And for most politicians and anyone else that seems to have a really big platform, not until their 70s, apparently. For some reason, you just see things, right? And so I think what's important to recognize there is that these things are also based on the technology and what you're getting access to. They're being informed heavily by something called dispositions, or the dilemmas. So the decisions you make, oftentimes when you're running into a dilemma. And so before we talk about, okay, how do you start building these things into your classroom, you need to recognize that these are dilemmas that are continuing to grow depending on the platform that you're on. And these dilemmas are oftentimes met with your own experiences. They're being framed with your own background, your own culture, your own community, your own resources, equity-wise, like what access do I have to certain types of tools? The decisions you make online have long-term consequences, but sometimes those decisions are also based on everything else about you that brings you into that dilemma you might be running into. So I want to put you all through a quick dilemma. And the dilemma, and I'm going to go back to the Menti so you can answer here, is, let me see if the Menti is back there. Nope. So I'm going to escape and go right back to it. All right. So this one It is reasonable for people to face the consequences later in life for social media posts they shared when they were in middle or high school. It was interesting. Tanya shared an example of this. But your own personal experiences, your own personal feeling, do you strongly disagree, strongly agree, or somewhere in the middle? You have a sliding scale here to give your own perspective. Is it reasonable, or it's reasonable for people to face consequences later in life for social media posts they shared when they were in middle or high school? I had some quick fours, strongly agrees. Now we're kind of shifting a little bit to the middle. I think what's really interesting, so please continue answering. You all are coming in at this as reasonable people. I imagine you all are pretty reasonable folks, especially working in the classroom. But even something like this, we already see we're kind of like heavier, more into that middle. We've got some strongly disagrees now being balanced out really somewhere into that two, just under two and a half in regards to what do we do with this, right? How do we feel about media posts coming from middle and high school now affecting our futures, right? And so there are many different situations that you might have heard of, you might be referencing to, or even just your own personal stance, and that's all okay. But what's important to know is that students are coming in with these dilemmas and oftentimes don't understand the implications of these dilemmas. Sometimes the devices and the tools are dictating that for them. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like and how that works. So I'm gonna bring it back. Thank you all for that, for your insight and your perspective. But Tali, how does this all build into the responsibilities?
Yeah, and we're just at a high level kind of going to give you background on how the curriculum that we're going to look at in a minute was shaped and formed. This is really the foundation around these rings of responsibility. And you can think about this also in terms of having that strong social emotional learning component as well. But from a developmental standpoint as well, first thinking about really what are your roles, what are your responsibilities to yourself? What do you deserve? What do you owe yourself? What do you have to think about? And then extending that to friends and family. And then of course the wider world. And what we also really want to encourage with students is thinking, of course, about intention, but also impact. And all of this works together when we look at our 6 core curriculum topics on the next slide. So, some of you may be familiar, of course, with the ISTE standards and a range of other, frameworks from Namely, for example, and all of those key components are here as well. But these 6 topics are really where we have lessons, focusing on helping students think about finding balance in their lives, thinking about that privacy piece. How are you shaping your own digital footprint? How are you thinking about others? And of course, thinking about, again, that intention and impact when you're thinking about the words, what you're putting out there, how you're connecting with others, how you're pumping people up, and how you're really communicating who you are and expressing who you are as well.
And I think this ties really well into when Tanya was mentioning, when you start your classroom and you're going to kind of like set the norms, as a group, what do you stand for? What are the norms? What are the rules? What are the opportunities in your classroom? That's the reason why you see them framed this way, is whatever course you're teaching or subject matter you're teaching, if you find that you want to be able to build a classroom where kids can actively define who they are, really understand the power of their words and their actions, really care about their privacy so you can really dive in, there is something for you here, right? And we wanted to make sure that you able to not just see that, oh, these are important things to talk about, but that you see yourselves, you see what you want to bring to the table in addressing these topics and these issues. So one thing that we want to do is we're going to kind of go through really quickly some examples of the different ways that you can use these resources in your classroom. In this case, this is the long form. The traditional lesson plans are written as 45-minute lessons built around with a number of activities within them. And this particular one is 8th grade one called Digital Media and Your Brain. This is under the Media Balance and Wellbeing segment. And you can already see that the CASEL alignments are already there. And if you were to click into the lesson, you'll be able to see the ISTE standards that they're aligned to. It all starts with an essential question. How does digital media try to hook you, and what can you do about it? And what was really great is, as Tanya was providing her stories in her keynote, she was sharing a lot about what you can do to put forward the footprint and the persona and who you are forward. But oftentimes we, and especially our students, have to work around the confines of what the platform provides us, or even how it's built. So let's start off first by you thinking, we're not going to have time for you all to really start entering this stuff in, but feel free to in the chat as we talk. But what are some of the things you do on your own phone or device? So if you guys are my students class, what are some things you do on your phone and device? Not when I see you looking down at your lap when you're in the classroom, but when you're at home, like things that you're supposed to be doing. So that means everyone put away your phones. You're not supposed to be on them right now. I just want to know what you like to do with them. That type of thing. Tali, what are some things you like to do?
Probably my biggest thing that I use it for, separate from work purposes, is Google Maps. I am always getting lost, and that's one of my favorite features. And then FaceTime with friends and family who are far away.
Totally. Some of my favorite things as well. So as you are taking stock of this, everyone, and then really trying to understand, like, why do you enjoy them so much? One of the things you want to think about is this a habit? So something that we do automatically without thinking. Have you established habits with the way that you're using your technology, or are you actively making the decision to use them? I know a habit that I've developed is like, and remember back in the days when we used to stand in line all the time somewhere, we actually actively go in somewhere, there's a long line. I had a habit of pulling out my phone just to kind of let the time go by. I felt that awkwardness of being in line and just looking around staring at people. So I pulled my phone out, and I felt like that was just the thing to do, right? So it's important to know the difference between a habit and then the other, which is oftentimes so very easily used, addiction. Like, oh, they're just addicted, they're addicted. I think what's really important to, and we're going to go into this definition, is like, what is the difference between habit and addiction? What are some of the things that you do on your phone? So as you go back to the list of things you like to do you ever think of those things as a habit? So you might have been taking stock around the things that you've done. You might have even written it down or in the comments. Do you see that these things are habits, or do you think that these things are things that you just choose to do and you've actively are saying, you know what, this is what I'm going to do at this point? And this is an important question, because we've found that, in some cases, many cases, teens are feeling like, oh, you know what, I just didn't even realize I was doing this. So we're going to play this quick video to give you a sense of how we hear directly from teens, the way that media plays a role in their life. Can we cue that video up?
I check my phone a lot.
More than I can count.
I check it usually when I wake up in the morning.
Before school, on the bus ride to school.
During school.
A couple times each class.
At lunch.
Probably check it at break. After school.
Walking home. While I'm doing homework.
I'm constantly checking my phone until I go to bed. For me personally, the positives of social media are the biggest probably that I feel connected. It's a way for me to talk to my friends at all times. When I don't have it, it really feels like I'm on another planet.
I don't really wish for the days when I didn't have my phone, because it gives me so much stuff that I cherish.
I think I really enjoy social media when I am discussing issues with like-minded people or talking about things I'm very passionate about.
I like to make artwork and write, and so sometimes I'll use that as a platform to display my art.
It's fun. I like posting, I like editing pictures. It's just fun to be able to talk to my friends all the time.
Yeah, I never really feel depressed or anything like that. Just because there's always somebody to talk to and always somebody that's there for you. That's kind of a good thing about social media.
It has definitely created a pressure for people to keep on doing it, and I know that it's basically to keep them on the app.
The autoplay kind of helps you binge watch, because if I don't get to the remote and click back, then it's just going to start playing.
It is hard to keep track of the episodes and hours when you're binge watching. I think that is definitely part of it.
I only have to wait 3 seconds to see what happens next. So
I watched about 10 to 12 episodes in a day one time when I stayed home from school, and I finished the first season in one day. I think I've done that twice.
There's been times where I've planned on just watching one video, but then I've kept watching more because they're recommended, and then it just keeps going, and all of a sudden a ton of time has passed.
Sometimes when I'm really into the show, but I have something else I need to do, it's very hard to decide if I should click out or not. But it starts playing the next episode, I'm like, oh, it won't hurt, just one more. You find yourself 2 hours later, and you're still watching it, and you have homework to get done.
I would say that I'm definitely hooked on my phone, very dependent on it is the word I would use. I feel that I'm very aware of this and I'm not very happy about it.
Sometimes I wish that social media didn't have as much of an impact on my life.
I'll work and then every once in a while I'll be like, okay, I'll take a break, and then I'll go back and check again, and then I'll check for too long, and then I waste a bunch of time that way.
It really makes you feel less whole when you realize you're putting so much energy into something that's on a little box in your hand.
It's something new, it's always exciting, it keeps your attention, and that constant turnover of adding new things definitely contributes to the amount of time people spend on it.
Thank you. So then you'll see some questions. I mean, what's great about so most of our lessons are underpinned with videos like this, so that we can really hear straight from the teens. I think what's really interesting. So there's these discussion topics that are then made available for you guys to really dive deeper into. Is like, what media habits did teens talk about? Which features of design hook them? I think what's also interesting is they talk about the design, but some of the design that you don't see, like the countdown, are even things like elevating the most provocative types of images and video, right? You're seeing like threads like TikTok, or even integrated into Instagram and all these, and even and in YouTube, you can search for one thing and go down a rabbit hole and see what things serve up. So just knowing that the way that these algorithms work, and how does that inform them, your own disposition, your own feelings, and then how might that inform the next thing you post, right? We saw, I only remember her tag name Vodka Sam. She had a full name, Sam something, the example from Tanya, but it's like, what might have compelled her to make that decision? Well, I see everyone posting things like this. I'm not thinking about the long-term consequences. I just am going to be doing what we do and posting, and then realizing later, oh, I wish I didn't do that. We want to be able to actively have our kids start to think critically about these issues now, so they can still be there and still engage in their social atmosphere, but know that these tools and resources and these types of sites are working in a certain way that might be pushing you in a certain direction. So how do you get it to work for you versus you working for them is really where we want kids to start thinking critically about how these lessons can support their thinking and their own experience. And so,
that's I was going to say that's such a great point, Merv, too, because, and talking about the addictive piece too, when you opened up with that question of, what's a habit versus something we're so quick to say, oh, that's addictive instead, is I feel like when it's a habit, or when we think about all of these, persuasive pieces of technology in place, once we learn about those, that's empowering. That allows me to make choices and say, hey, I can make this change, or I can break this habit. It's not something that has power over me. I can take that power back.
Exactly. And that's what we really want to be able to get to the core to, as we talk about when we run into these dilemmas. Do we feel empowered to make a decision around them? And we can do this by reinforcing these experiences every day and building this as a normal part of the conversations we have in the classrooms, or even just kind of the casual conversations you might walk by and run by as you're chatting with kids in your community, right? But then that brings us back then, it's like having the language, understanding what is addictive design, how do you communicate that so that they can see addiction versus habitual or a habit. And then what is a feedback loop, the response to something you do or post online that causes your brain to experience this temporary moments of pleasure. It's like, oh, the reason why these things start to almost like a casino roulette wheel or anything else, when you're like kind of feeling that anxiety of like, what's about to happen next? Ooh, is that light gonna come in? Or like, what's my first comment? Like, those things are meant to get your brain teasing and feeling a high when things go your way, and then you're always constantly feeling like you need to be participatory, right? But how do you own that? How do you own that experience in terms of what you want it to be?
And when you explore this lesson later on your own, you'll see the handout, which I know is in the chat too, is we're now inviting students to think about what apps they love, and is it working for them as well? Because people are going to have different reactions. So Merv, you might be, really into, for example, I know there's certain games that you really like. You might be really into gaming in a way that I'm not, but I'm getting to hear why that works for you, what pieces you like about it, what you might not, but having you really reflect on that. And while this lesson is designed for 8th grade, we have lessons like this at every grade level. And again, as the teacher, you can choose, you can say, hey, this is an 8th grade lesson, but I think that this would actually really resonate with my 6th graders. Or, hey, this might really work with my high schoolers. You can always pick and choose what parts and change up the grade levels too.
Yep, exactly. And we want to make sure we gave you everything that you needed. So you can see here, and just in terms of the materials, it's all there ready for you to be able to use and really establish a whole community approach at how you address these issues. So engaging with your students, to engaging with each other, to even engaging with families, and making sure these resources are accessible. Now, if you don't have that much time to bring this into a full classroom period or have that deeper discussion, there are other ways that you can really bring these conversations to life. And I'm going to have Tali kind of lead that next section.
Right. So even the lesson we just showed, any of our lessons that have a video, we also have what we call quick activities, where it's basically a mini lesson structured around the video. So we wanted to share an example. You have this link as well to a lower elementary school lesson, saying goodbye to technology. We're going to show you a brief video, not the video from this one. I did a last minute change up because my favorite video, which is the Balance is Important, is a great one that we're going to put on in a moment. There's a whole discussion guide that goes along with it. And just a warning before we play this video, it will get stuck in your head for a while. But this is an opportunity also. Yes, Merv, go ahead.
Actually, I think like looking at time, and I think actually they're going to be diving into this lesson later on today. So
Let's skip the video.
We'll skip the video. I think
Great.
we'll let you dive in when this comes up later on today. But just know that these activities are available for you and that they are meant to be able to give you something quick that you can focus in and really embrace the conversation. But let's move on to the next part.
And so we wanted to also give you an opportunity to engage with these digital dilemmas. So Merv opened it up as well with asking you, your thoughts on whether students should be held accountable for what they post earlier in life. We have a series of short dilemmas really designed to get students thinking. So I'm going to stop talking for a minute and let's share an example, Merv.
Sure.
And do you mind reading it?
Sure. So streaming fights online. The school day had just ended, and Aruv was storming through the halls looking for Drew during last period. A classmate told Aruv something rude Drew had said about Aruv's sister, and Aruv was ready to fight him. Indira pulled out her phone and started following Aruv, recording him as he searched through the halls on his hunt for Drew. She was sharing live, and there was already a growing audience watching online, egging Aruv on. When Aruv found Drew, they started fighting and a large crowd gathered in person. All around them, people stood behind their phones recording the scene. Eventually, a teacher realized what was going on and broke up the fight. Over the next few days, the school investigated what happened and decided to suspend both Aruv and Indira. Was it okay for people to record and stream or post the fight? Why or why not? Do you think that Indira deserved consequences as well as Aruv? Why or why not? This is a situation I've seen play out many times, especially in high school.
Right. And you can feel free to share in the chat thoughts, but if you see right below it, it also highlights the thinking routine. So all of these dilemmas always come with a thinking routine, one of 3. This one is a take a stand one, which is kind of similar to what we did before, but where you're thinking about it, what are your thoughts on it? Where do you stand? Then you're listening to others, taking that in, and then you're evaluating again, okay, has anything changed and how does this connect otherwise? And what I really appreciate with these thinking routines is that we have a series of different dilemmas that you could choose from. You could come up with your own dilemmas if you wanted, but it allows a real foundation and approach to having what can be pretty nuanced and also complicated questions as well. And you'll also see there's always complicate questions as well. So if you want to go further, you can. And again, you can write your own. This one in particular, oh, thanks, Merv. So we're going to share actually another one. So this is actually an example of an educator dilemma. You won't find this in our curriculum, but our colleagues at the New York City Department of Education had conversations with teachers kind of about their own dilemmas. And this is one that they then wrote themselves. This is a true experience. It's not the person's real name. But we'll give you a minute to kind of look through this, and you can think about, as you share with your own colleagues, how you might discuss some of these dilemmas. So this is Luis Garcia, middle school teacher at a public school in Brooklyn. While attempting to log into his Zoom account to hold his online class, he's trying to do it. After about 5 minutes of unsuccessful logins, he's now officially late to teach his 7th grade science class. In a moment of pure frustration, Lewis uses a few expletives before grumbling, "Ugh, this is why I hate virtual class." After another few minutes of tweaking, Lewis joins class and is able to get things underway. But unbeknownst to him, his students were able to hear his curses and angry outbursts. Upon the end of class, one of his students, Linda, tells him, "Hey, I'm sorry you had a tough time getting into class. If it makes you feel better, I'm really enjoying virtual class with you, Mr. Garcia." Lewis feels awful that his students heard him cursing and bashing online schooling. How should Lewis address this situation? Does he need to report this incident to his principal or supervisor? Should Lewis speak to the whole class and or address parents? So again, this is an example of something you could do with your colleagues or have these kinds of conversations. Depending on your class, you might even share these dilemmas with students too. But we wanted to give you an example of what this can look like in a variety of kind of different contexts.
For sure. So really quickly, again, as we go through these types of lessons, I think one of the big takeaways is how do we really develop more of these habits of mind now for students, and it's not just, oh yeah, it happens to us, or this is what I run into, but really empowering them to, one, slow down and self-reflect, to seek the facts and evidence before they move forward with anything that they post, share, or comment, right? Consider other perspectives. Really envisioning the different options. So often it feels like I've only got one way to go with this, when there are actually many other options if you take the time to really think about it, and then taking action that is informed, action that is really tied to who and how you want to be represented, right? And so these are habits of mind and thinking routines that have been built in to not just our full lessons, but our activities, to ensure that our kids are thinking critically and empowered to make these types of decisions. And I know we're coming up to time, so we're just gonna kind of go briefly into this next section. Talia, anything you want to say really quickly?
I just wanted to highlight, while the examples that we just shared with the digital dilemmas, they're designed for middle school and high school, and you can pull out ones that are focused on relationships, on civics, and so forth. We have these in elementary schools too. They're the building blocks for thinking about this kind of critical engagement. And here was just an example of a fifth grade lesson, and you can see there's a scenario up top. We can go to the next slide, Merv.
Great. And so with all this, if you're going to be addressing these issues in your classroom, and I think one of the things that's most important is that not only is it important to do so, or maybe important for you as an educator, but your parents, your family, your community actually really cares about the fact that not only are you providing everything you can to provide high quality resources and learning and tools and technology for your kids to learn, but that you're also empowering them to think critically about the way that they use it. And then also providing opportunities for their home, their family, their caregivers, whoever is helping them at home, to really, push these ideas along, and also their own practices around digital citizenship. So with that, we want to make sure that you feel that you're recognized for this work. And we've got a great recognition program that you all can dive into later. There's some quick links we're going to share after this that can talk to you more about what does it mean to be a common sense recognized educator, school, or district, and how can we make that an area of focus, or even use that as a framework to ensuring that these types of issues are being addressed in our school. If there's any Q&A or any questions that might have come up, please feel free to just kind of let us know on the back end. We'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we wanted to make sure that you will be receiving some direct links that can, one, give us some feedback, not just around the presentation, but around our resources. Everything we showed you today was all based on research that we've been doing in the classroom for years, as well as direct feedback from educators. So believe it or not, I would say believe it. We hear a lot from educators. I saw my recommendation played out right into the resources. We want to hear from you, because our resources are really built up by teachers, for teachers, for the good of our students and our school communities. Talia, any last things you want to say?
I just wanted to thank you all for coming today and taking the time, and this has been, I think it's an understatement to talk about what a tremendous year and challenging year it's been. And so really appreciate you engaging. And, really the goal, I think, as we're all saying, is to incorporate digital citizenship just so students have a place to have these conversations and talk with caring adults who mentor them. So thank you.
Well, guys, we really appreciate you being here. I know this was a way to kind of engage us in our first time from Common Sense with our district, and we really appreciate it. We love using your content. We've been using your stuff for a long time, and it's great to put a face to an organization and stuff like that and have this kind of conversation. So we really appreciate you to be here, and we loved your presentation. You showed some great ideas, and we're actually going to take some of your stuff and build it further. So like you guys built on Tanya, we're actually going to build on your part. And we want to thank you for being here. If you want to kind of hang out with us, you're welcome to join us. If not, just feel free to kind of hang out in the chat. And Merv, you got something you want to add?
Yeah, just really quick. There was a question who our researchers were. So we work really closely with Project Zero at the Harvard School of Education, and all of our research that we've done in this new iteration, as well as a number of we do a number of longitudinal studies across the board that we do with many different partners to really get insights into what's happening in the schools, happening in the classrooms, and using that research to, again, underpin the realities of what we're working through.
Well, it's always good to have research to kind of guide everything, as well as feedback. That's all I've got to say about that topic.
For sure. Well, we appreciate your feedback, John. We appreciate everyone. So it was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to change to a more in-depth conversation with my colleagues from the EdTech training team. So they're going to be coming up. We're going to start talking about getting started with digital citizenship. You've talked about the how and the why, and now we're going to talk about how you can use it a little bit. So we're actually going to go through some of those quick activities and stuff like that. So I'm bringing the team up. Make sure, team, you've unmuted. I don't want you talking and you're unmuted and stuff like that. But we're going to actually have a conversation and talk about some things and about how to get started with that. And we're going to go through some of the quick reference guides. I've got a sheet here that talks about them. If I can get my slides to advance. There we go. Oh, it went too far. So we're going to take some examples out of this. And then we're going to actually, this is kind of where we're going to go with this. This sheet's going to be posted because what we've done is we've actually taken these links and we're going to post this graphic on the lessons so you can actually download the lessons. So we're going to go through a few of them today. The first one we're going to talk about, and let's bring the team back up. There we go. And one thing I wanted to start with you guys first is I just wanted to give you, I wanted you to hear your elevator pitch on what digital citizenship is. And just give it to me in like a minute or less. Who wants to go first?
I'll start because somebody said something in the chat which I thought was incredibly relevant. They were talking about the parents, not only with the students, but with the parents. And I will take it a step further and also say ourselves. It starts to me with the modeling. It really does. And taking everyday scenarios and everyday opportunities to show students what digital citizenship is, meaning what it means to, you know, think critically online, be responsible online, you know, things that we post, things that we share. You know, I could just continue on and on and on, but it really starts with ourselves.
Awesome. Who wants to go next?
Okay. So digital citizenship to me is just really being a good citizen online, communicating honestly, behaving responsibly, thinking critically, staying safe, just treating others as you would like to be treated, just and the same way in real life, just on the digital platform.
Okay. All right, who's next?
I'll go. For me, digital citizenship, I always say, you know, is what to do, what's right or wrong online. That's kind of like the easiest short definition in how you behave online. But I agree with everything that's also said. With Tasha saying, like, we have to model it ourselves. Like, we have to be the model for our students for them to see how to actually do this properly. And Tanya shared a great example of how not to do this properly. And I think we see oftentimes the non-examples in the news of what not to do, but we're not really sharing that with our students on the right way to do things. So, yeah.
Okay, Dana.
All right. So I agree with everything that my colleagues have been sharing. And digital citizenship to me is really understanding that digital footprint and helping students and our own children, our family members, our elderly parents understand what a digital footprint is, because there is an invisible audience that is seeing everything that we post on social media, whether that is someone, just like how Tanya was saying, to Google yourself. Our young students don't realize that what they put online now will impact them 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And whether it's old friends seeing what is posted on Facebook or Instagram or social media, it could be possible employers, it could be scholarship committees, it could be organizations or groups that somebody wants to be a member of down the road. And that footprint is so important, and digital citizenship encompasses so many things, but that footprint, and for my own being and for my family and everyone I know and students and everything, that is huge, because it will change your life. If you put, just like that, I wrote her name down, Samantha Goody, that was shown earlier with the vodka. Tanya said it changed her life, and I'm sure it did.
All right, so we're going to get into this. So this is Common Sense's website, and this is their site on digital citizenship. So like right here is the link for digital citizenship. We're actually going to go through and talk about 4 lessons that they're going to do. One of them they kind of hinted at a while ago, which was saying goodbye to technology. And so in this session, they're talking about how kindergarten students can take a step, breathe. There's a video, there's a handout and stuff like that, and you can actually pull these questions up and talk about that. So I want to bring up the team, and I want you to discuss this in our discussion. And this is a great lesson for kindergartners to actually think about taking a step back from technology. And we have to start at an early age balancing with social media and with device management and stuff like that. Team, do you guys have any thoughts about that from your own perspective or perspective in when you taught? Rebecca?
So as a parent of a kindergarten student this year, I definitely witnessed this with him, with the technology, just having to say goodbye. It can be difficult for them because you have to really teach that. They get really, really zoned in on their iPad or their game when they're playing. So what I do when I ask him a question and he completely ignores me because he's watching his show, I make him turn it off or put the iPad upside down. And that way he completely disconnects from it, because if they even just pause it and still see the visual, I still see his eyes like going to try and check it, right? So he's not really focused on me. So one of the concepts for school is when they're using their device and you need to get their attention, is for them to actually close the lid of that device. And that way you're going to get a little bit better attention from those little kindergartners.
All right. Anybody else want to add something?
I just got to say real quick, Paula, yeah, Roblox is a thing. And it is definitely not only with kindergarten, but I also have a 4th grader and they all love Roblox. So if you want to talk to your children, they have to turn the Roblox off.
And I was just going to say, for the kindergarten teachers out there, when you take a look at this lesson, the video, it's going to stick in your head. And so it can become a practice. It can become a practice, for them to stop and to pause. And even for us as adults, and we saw the video of the teenagers talking about how they're constantly, even mindlessly, on their phones at all times. And I have to tell you, I'm guilty of that as well. And so to be able to stop and to put it down and to take a breath and refocus and reset, this is an excellent lesson to start, in kindergarten.
And I was just going to say really quickly about that one specifically that it's all about routine. And so, as we go back to the buildings with all of our students now, I know elementary had a lot of their students last year, but as we now have all of our students coming up with those routines in your classroom at the beginning of the year for elementary, this lesson's a great way to get your kids to when it's time to put the technology away and focus on your reading block or something else, this is a great way to do that with them.
All right, Dana, do you have anything you want to add?
I was just going to add, again, agree with everything that they all said, and teachers highly recommend that you put this as part of your classroom procedures when you develop those with your students the first day, the first week of school, whenever you do that. Putting devices away, yes, absolutely for kindergarten, but really every grade level, this is important to know. And having that routine and establish it early, the very beginning of the school year, is very important.
And Paula, you've been talking about a lot of English as second language, or what happens if your students don't speak English. I know in kindergarten, a lot of classes come back with a lot of high volume of students that don't even speak English. And so what I've seen really work with teachers is to pair students that can actually translate for them, because then that's building their vocal skills as well as translating for them and stuff like that. Even if you have one or two just to kind of help, and it kind of works as a group effort to kind of build that conversation. So that's kind of one topic that we want to talk about. So we want to skip to a 5th grade lesson at this point. And we're going to talk about reading news online. And so this is a great one because it talks about different parts of a news article. And it's talking about why is that important? Because it's important because we've got to teach our students what is fake news and what is real, and how to justify our sources. And that's becoming a huge deal because everyone can quote different materials, but is it actually accurate? And so this is a big thing and this is great for tying a curriculum for current events, for reading articles, for building, what is a newspaper? Do your students even know what a newspaper is? Do they even see what a newspaper is? Or a magazine or something like that. So team, what do you think about this lesson and what it brings to our classrooms?
Oh, everybody's jumping. Go ahead. And because I have something I want to show as well.
Okay, I'll hop in then. And the example is definitely not elementary, but there was a viral TikTok video, Instagram video of some police seemingly throwing something, paraphernalia into a car at a stop that went global a couple days ago. And what you didn't see is you only saw the one side of the video, and this happens a lot in all situations, but when you actually saw the whole story was that bag actually was just empty, and it came out of one of the people who came out of the back seat. So, but everyone gets enraged over this one article or this one video that is not the whole picture. And so getting students to think critically about the topic and saying, okay, can I find other sources that say this is what happened, or maybe not. Maybe I don't find other sources. So is this a reliable source? And getting students to understand the difference between that terminology of reliable sources, primary sources or documents and things like that. So Tasha, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, if you could pull my screen up real quickly, because I just wanted to show one thing. As a former library media specialist, and also Rebecca, I know she has something to say about that as well. One of the things that we always stressed is, to know the sources. There is a term, it's called source literacy. And students, it's never too early to start them understanding and to build that their own personal database of sources, so they understand what sources are valid and what sources are maybe a little questionable. So I wanted to show this real quick as an extension to this particular lesson, because Gale research databases is something that we all have. And even if I just pick an elementary school, you see here that it has an elementary version. And then for 5th grade, I would even encourage the middle school version. But I wanted to show this really quickly because there is, we're just going to pick a topic just to start. There is a specific news section. It's all broken out by different types of sources, but there's a news section. And what I want to show is that for each one of these articles, you can actually click on the hyperlink, which will show you what this source is, right? So you can find out the target audience, you can find out the subjects, you can get a description of the news source. And that's pretty much all I wanted to show right now. So you can bring us all back up. I just wanted you guys to know that this is available, and this is something that we can do on a regular basis when we're reading informational articles, and especially if it comes from news, is going over the source. Where is this coming from? What is the target? Who is the one actually publishing this information? And what that's going to do, you start early, that's going to get students to the point where when they're, in high school, when they're in college, they can quickly determine what is reliable and what's not, and they'll know how to determine what's reliable and what's not. So we have those tools available. That's Gale Research Database, and everybody has it on the district portal.
Just to piggyback on that, Tasha, that one is really geared more towards our secondary students. So we also have lots of research databases that are available to our elementary students as well. Even as young as kindergarten, first grade, we have Pebble Go, which is really great for that age group. And then for our upper elementary or intermediate, we have World Book Kids, and we also have World Book Students. So those are also great sources of information, and they have lots of primary resources as well. But the one thing that I really loved about this quick activity was the video, because it really succinctly explained the different parts of an online article. And for our students, knowing how to check the URL, the author, the sources, that goes a long way in combating fake news, which in turn is going to help our students become critical thinkers.
All right. Thanks, Rebecca. Dana, you want to add anything?
Just to make sure that we teach our students those critical thinking skills, because reliable sources is not just a problem in school, it is a problem with adults as well. I saw someone mentioning that in the chat, and the more we can encourage that, just as Tasha and Rebecca were talking about, the better we all are.
And that's one thing that's great about having every student have a device, because now they can actually, if they have an idea they want to investigate, they can actually have the ability just to go out and research and stuff like that. And they need to be taught certain specifics, not just go to Google and stuff like that, but how to do that. And if they do go to Google, how to do it safely and responsibly. And so those are some things to think about. John, did you say anything? Because I can't remember, to be honest with you.
I did, and I'm trying to get it in the chat now, but there's also a great chart out there, if you've never seen it, on media bias. If you just type in media bias chart, it's a pretty independent organization that creates the chart that shows each of the different news, because John asked in the chat, how do you know what is reliable, right? So if you look at the chart, it kind of tells you, based on a spectrum from, most extreme left to most extreme right, where each of these media organizations fall on the bias chart. And I think that's important to know, because kids need to understand that organizations come with different worldviews and perspectives. And so, they may read one article here that's this side and then read this side and say, well, which one's really true? And they need to understand what bias is as well. So just search the media bias chart and it'll get that for you.
All right, we're going to shift gears. We've got about 8 minutes to get into the secondary levels. We want to talk about what is your digital footprint for middle school students and how is that important, stuff like that. One thing that we want to show you is that yes, there is a student handout here that they can do. But one of the things that we want to kind of get away from now with all the digital devices and our smart boards and stuff like that is that you don't have to print out that digital handout. You could actually just save it to your Lumio, and actually just all of these are Google Docs that you can save to your drive. You can put in your Google Classroom. But with Lumio, you can actually go in and add the text or make it as a handout for your students to actually enter it, so you don't have to waste paper and stuff like that. And these are good discussion questions that we can actually share with our students and just have a conversation with them. So let's talk about this team. What do you think? Why is this so important for middle school, especially about keeping your digital footprint? It's important for elementary school, but around 12 or 13, they're all getting devices. Even elementary kids have devices now too. So it's important to kind of talk about that.
You know, there are so many news articles about students who are having their offers rescinded from college because of things that they might have posted back in middle school, back in high school. It's just, you know, Tanya talked a lot about the importance of understanding what that digital footprint is and Googling yourself and understanding what it means. And I don't think, you know, students, even adults, I don't think they make a connection with once you put something out there, it is always out there. I mean, there's something called the Internet Archives, which purposely archives old, you know, it's a snapshot in time. So, you know, Facebook, Instagram, you know, whatever, it takes a snapshot in time of what's on there. So while you may delete something, somebody can go into Internet Archives and find it if they were, you know, that eager to do that. So it's just important to pay attention to what we put out there. It's so important to pay attention to what we put out there.
Yep. Anybody else?
Well, and just to add to what Tasha was saying, that digital footprint is so important because it's that invisible audience. It's that invisible audience that our students don't realize is going to Google them and find what they posted years down the road. And one of the things, just to mention real quick, is there's something called a Digital Citizenship Survival Kit. And so for those of you that are visual, and when I did this in the classroom, I always did this visual as well. So just to help especially our younger students understand how important that footprint is, and some examples. And so here, we have a lock, and this represents that our passwords need to be protected because you need to lock them down. Everything that you put online is permanent, just like a permanent marker, as Tasha was saying. That archive is still there. Someone can Google you, and if a college scholarship committee is looking at your stuff, it is still there if you have inappropriate pictures from many years ago. Just like you cannot put toothpaste back in the toothpaste tube, you cannot take something away from social media. So once it's out there, it's already been liked, it's been shared, it's been downloaded, it's been starred, it is out there, just like toothpaste is out of the tube. And going back to having strong passwords and keeping things locked, you would not share passwords, just like you will not share your toothbrush. So just a little visual there to help us out.
I love that. That's an awesome thing to share. I love the whole permanent marker because, like, if you write something down, it's permanent. You can't get rid of it. So if you post something, it's there and it's going to stay there.
Yep. Just like a Sharpie.
Yep. Anybody else?
I just think that, you know, the digital footprint is really a concept that our students need to learn as early as possible because it's permanent, it's out there. But I think that digital footprint is also important for adults and for our parents and grandparents because, you know, they're maybe a little bit not as comfortable with technology as our kids are today. So just spreading that that vision, that message to everyone, like, be careful what you post online. Think about it before you post. If you're upset, it's probably not a good time to be posting online. So just thinking that for ourselves as well, it's just an important topic for everyone.
Definitely. Anybody else? All right. So we're going to move on to the last one, and this one is really kind of interesting. I love this conversation. Is the internet making you meaner? And it brings back the whole word kind and stuff like that. And I just think this is a really good, this is actually 11th grade lesson, but you could definitely use it in different grade levels and change it. But, you know, what is online inhibition and stuff like that. And I think last year, a lot of this stuff kind of came out and stuff like that while we were virtual. That was actually the year before, but a lot of things were virtual last year. So team, what do you guys think about this? And I mean, this is very important because it talks about that whole kindness and cyberbullying, and that you may say something and don't even realize that it affects someone else. And I think that's important to talk about.
And you know what else is that you may actually you may not be the one that actually said something mean about somebody, right? Or said a comment that could be taken, meanly. But if you like that comment, you give it a thumbs up, you're right in there with it. You're right in there with it. And I think students don't think about that. Think about what it is that you're liking. Think about what are you doing the little heart for? Was it something, mean? When we are posting, it's really easy. I love that word, and I'm not going to say it right. What is it?
Disinhibition.
Yeah, that word. I love that because it speaks to what happens when you're just online and not face to face. You can't read the visual cues. You can't see one another. You can't hear really what's behind what it is that I'm saying. You're just talking. You're just talking and you're just saying what you want to say because you feel like you're not being seen. So this is, I think, a very good lesson to have a discussion with students.
And Dana and I actually had this discussion yesterday in the hallway about, being in front of someone and saying something, or being behind a keyboard and saying something, and how we don't get that emotional connection when we say something negative online that we do when we say it in front of someone, when we see the pain that people are experiencing. And unfortunately, more and more online, people are just getting even more mean and polarized. And so it's all about, like John said, bringing that kind word back and empathy. I feel like empathy is needed today more than ever for our fellow humans, right? And so that's why I think this is a great lesson. And I see someone put great for middle schoolers, especially. Yes, I taught middle school, and yes, this is a great discussion for middle school. And what's great about this is you can still take this 11th grade lesson and then just pare it down a little bit, take down whatever we need to take out of it for, that may be too inappropriate for our age if we're in middle school, but you can still talk to this concept. So all of that is all available, and all the links that we shared. And as John said, all of his little chart that he had will be up on our website as well. So you'll have access to all of these lessons. So.
Yeah, that's everything will be posted this afternoon. We'll start this afternoon. If we don't finish it today, it'll be by Monday especially. We want to make sure that you have all the resources and it's all located on one page. Mm-hmm. So anybody else want to add to that discussion piece about is the internet making us meaner?
Mm-hmm. Just to encourage everyone watching to go to the Common Sense Media lesson, because there are detailed questions and sample answers and a whole slides presentation just to help teachers go through this with their classes. And there's this incredible video that I posted in the chat a little bit ago about one of the Stranger Things stars, who so many of our students watch that show, and how she was cyberbullied. And so she removed herself from Twitter, and just talking about cyberbullying and again, how being behind that screen, it's almost no feeling, no inhibition. All of that is removed because they're just typing it and nobody knows who it's coming from. And it's really important that we teach our students that being kind in person and online is important.
And Dana, can you just mention one other thing that you talked to me about Google Classroom, the connection with the lessons?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So when you go and create your free account with Common Sense Media, one of the things that they offer is all of the lessons include a 5-question quiz. Now, they call it a quiz, but you don't necessarily need to use it as a quiz. But those 5-question quizzes can be assigned directly to your Google Classroom. And so if you wanted to do that, you can. I tested it. It absolutely works in our district. If you don't want to use those 5 questions, you can also preview what's provided by Common Sense Media. You can modify that to perhaps add additional questions related to the discussion you have with your students. And it's just such great resources. And all of the lessons have that. It's 5 questions, and they have everything that you need right there.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Okay, so we're going to kind of power through this just to kind of go through, because I know you guys are tired. You've been through a lot this morning. We want to share the resources because there's a lot of resources, thanks to Rebecca, because she did actually the website and stuff like that. But I want to share with you the resources. So thanks, team. You guys did a great job showing us, but let's talk about where the resources are. So let's talk about the digital citizenship piece. So like, in our district, we have several resources. One of them is called the TechSafe website. And the TechSafe web is very important because we actually get federal funding for doing this, where we actually do 1 lesson a year that's required, and every school has a person that usually does that. So at your school, before you get involved in some of these things, just double check with your administrator to see who the TechSafe person is so you don't use and infringe those sites. And I'm going to show those sites real quickly. But we use Common Sense Media lessons for the TechSafe lessons. We also use a lot of some of the Google stuff, the Be Internet Awesome. I love the pledge, those words, be kind, be brave, be strong, alert, smart. Kindergartners would work with that, and also Brain Pop. So we're going to actually show some of those resources. So I'm actually going to switch over to my web browser here. This is Common Sense Media, and when you get to it, you just click on the education page, and there's a ton of stuff on reviews and stuff like that, but we focus on the digital citizenship. The lessons that we shared today are actually the quick activities for K-5 and 6-12. This is exactly where the website that we used. The K-5 looks like this. And when you go to that, this is where the quick activities are. There are games. There are things like the kindergarten lesson was right here, saying goodbye to technology. I think that's adorable. I would love that. For the middle and high school, the same thing. This is where all the quick activities are. When you go to TechSafe, TechSafe is important because they have all the lesson plans for each grade level. And this was carefully curated by our colleague, Rebecca. She did an amazing job of curating this. And these are where the lesson plans. But like I said, double check with your administrator on who the person that implements this. You don't want to walk on anybody's toes. Besides that, there are all these additional resources. I'll get it to load. Come on. There we go. Elementary resources where you can get the Brain Pop, the Internet Awesome and stuff like the NetSmarts, which is another group, the Common Sense games and activities. This is where you can get posters. Common Sense Media has some wonderful posters and stuff like that. I'm going to share the poster with you from that talks about the Be Internet Awesome stuff. And so there's amazing things right here. And also we've got some contact information because I am the point of contact for this. And you can also email my colleague Rebecca and stuff like that. We'll be happy to answer you. Brain Pop has a bazillion resources. I wanted to show this in the video. We were trying to get Moby here, but he couldn't join us. Oh man, I'm so bummed about that. So we've got a little video that we're going to share with you about this. So go ahead and share that video with us, John.
Safe and responsible use of technology is a crucial component of education, now more than ever. And BrainPop's Digital Citizenship Unit is full of topics and activities designed to help students build these critical skills. Explore our collection of grade-level pacing guides and lesson plans that provide a learning sequence that works for you and your students. Each guide has project prompts that stretch students to apply knowledge and develop original ideas. For example, over the course of 1 week, 6th graders can explore evaluating online and media sources, culminating with a movie-making project prompt to demonstrate understanding of fact versus opinion and how to identify bias in media. Perfect for in-person or working from home, these rigorous and fun mini-units will engage students and develop digital citizenship skills. Want to teach digital citizenship with BrainPop in real time? Here are some ideas across the week. On day 1, show the fact versus opinion video to the whole class. Be sure to set intention at the beginning of the video. And pause to encourage interaction through questions or clarifications. On day 2, sharing the worksheet, model your thinking about the first identify and rewrite prompt. Read aloud the phrase a few times, adding expression to illustrate the positive or negative slant of the author. Students can volunteer to read other examples aloud and identify the slant. Alternatively, student work on BrainPop can be completed on their own time. On day 1, students may view the video and mark and comment on moments to share back with the group. Bring students together to share their opinions and discuss. And for the worksheet on day 2, have students complete the remaining slant prompts on their own and submit to you as evidence of learning. Make a Movie is a terrific tool for students to use on their own time. Without the constraints of a short class period, students have time to think through ideas and practice their expressive language. Additionally, without recording the background classroom chatter, their narration will be more clear while recording in their own space. Students can share their final projects with you, the teacher, who can then download and share in common space. Allow students to practice their new communication etiquette by commenting on each other's movies. These are just a few small ideas on how to use BrainPop's digital citizenship topics this year. What skills will your students practice? What projects will they create? Join the Digital Citizenship celebration with BrainPop.
All right. That's a nice little video that kind of introduces BrainPop's resources and stuff like that. But I just wanted to show you this poster. I think this is an awesome poster that you can download. I think this is great for any grade group. So you can actually show how things are, like smart, share with care, alert, don't fall for fake, strong, secure your secrets, passwords, data, all of that. Kind, it's cool to be kind. I love that. It's cool to be kind. Wasn't that a song? Brave, when in doubt, talk it out. So that's a great poster, and that's actually on those resources as well. So we're going to switch gears a little bit here, and I'm going to switch over to this. And we're going to talk about student stewardship. Last year, there was a concerted effort to try to go one-to-one in our district. And so every student has a device now, and we want to share some videos that students have created. It's important to kind of think about how to protect those devices, because a lot of the devices got really messed up last year, and so we had a lot of repairs. So we're trying to kind of come up with an effort to actually try to get students to think about things before they actually do them to the devices. So I want to share a couple of brief videos. The first two were done from North Barrow Elementary, and they're from Flipgrid. So I want to share this first one. This student is at home doing this video, and she does a really good job. Check it out.
Hello, my name is Maya, and I'm going to be telling you ways to keep your Chromebook safe. The first way you can keep your Chromebook safe is when you're using your Chromebook or charging your Chromebook, keep it on a flat surface so it doesn't fall. When closing your Chromebook, do not put anything on the keys over the Chromebook because the screen might break. And another thing is, do not put anything on your Chromebook when it's closed because the screen might also break. When your Chromebook is broken, do not try to fix it yourself. Tell a teacher, and do not try to fix it yourself. You need to tell a professional who knows how to fix the Chromebook, or you can tell your teacher. But do not try to fix it yourself because you might make the problem even worse. And do not have any type of food or drink by your Chromebook, because if your drink or food gets stuck in your computer, then yeah, it's just not going to work anymore. And I'm telling you these ways to keep your Chromebook safe because I'm pretty sure you don't have the money to fix the Chromebook. So follow these rules. The rules are simple, and you'll probably have a good looking Chromebook. And yeah, bye.
So I know these resources are elementary. That's who I could work with at the beginning, at the end of last year, at the very ending of the last year. But we're working on some secondary videos as well with a couple of media specialists. So we'll post those on our website as soon as we get those done. So the next video is a group of students at Northborough that actually planned and storyboarded out their video. And let's show the second video.
Welcome to Chromebook Care Tips. Deny, that's not how you want a laptop. It's not? No, here, give me your laptop. I'll show you. So you're supposed to hold it like this, close to your chest, and make sure you're holding on tight so it doesn't drop. Okay, try it. Yeah, like that. Now, let's come to class. Okay. Chromebook Care Tip number 2. Finally, don't play that. What are you doing, Emma? What? I'm just finishing up my book. You put a pencil in there. That can crack your screen when you close it. Really? Yeah, it presses to the charge and it cracks. Chromebook Care Tip number 3. Madison, what are you doing? I'm just drinking water. Don't do it near your laptop. Why not? Because it can damage it. Oh. Chromebook Care Tip number 4. That should be enough. Oh, ow. Oh, wait, let me help you. Oh, thanks. Here, you can just put it up here. Wait, no, don't do that. Why? Because if you put all of this stuff on your keyboard, it will put too much pressure on it, and then your laptop might stop working. Oh, then how should I do it? First, you have to close up your laptop, put it on top of your stuff rather than put your stuff in it. Oh. Chromebook Care Tip number 5. The glare on my computer is so bright. Maybe I should push it back to fix it. It won't push back anymore. And the glare is still there. Maybe it can push back more? What are you doing? I'm trying to fix the glare on my computer. Hey, you're not going to want to pull it back this much because it could break. Oh, I didn't know that. And if the sun's too bright, just turn like this and it'll just turn right past you. Oh, that does work. Make sure you follow the Chromebook Care Tips so that your Chromebook can be safe. Bye!
So when we started talking about these videos and stuff like that, some people came to me and said, well, why don't we just do that professionally and done and stuff like that? But I think it's more important if kids create the videos because it kind of speaks from the kids' perspective. And these students actually came up with their own story ideas. They identified what the problems were and how to fix them and how to teach them and stuff like that. And I think that's a more important lesson. And so the next group is from Marsh Point Elementary School, and they want to address it in a different aspect and see if you can figure out that aspect. I'm sure it's quite obvious. So let's start with the last video.
I'm DC. I'm Sam. And I'm Gadget Girl. That kid looks like he's eating over his computer and having his drink. Oh, let's do something about it. Here you go. Eat or drink over your computer because it can turn out like that. You should not be playing games or on YouTube during class. Never have your computers on the edge of your desk. Always put them in the center. Thank you, that's good information. True. Oh man, my computer just died. But I love these stickers, let's decorate. We gotta stop them. Stickers can damage your computer. It's also a good idea to keep your battery at a high percentage so you don't lose all your progress. And especially, don't put stickers on school property. Don't go to any inappropriate sites. Don't download anything inappropriate. Always have appropriate screensavers. Don't bang on your computer. Treat your computer the way you want to be treated.
So that was kind of fun doing the superhero thing. They wanted to kind of jazz it up a little bit and go to the next level. And I think that's great. So it's important that we talk about those kinds of things. So let your students actually talk about that. Let them come up with their own rules to follow. And if they wanted to create something, they could use like Flipgrid, they could use Spark Video or Spark Post, or create something to share with the class they can actually use, and just play it on your school news or share with your other classes. And I think that's a great resource to do. It gets the kids more involved. So we're going to wrap things up now and kind of get into our next phase. And we've got a few last things, and then we're going to be done and get into our door prizes and stuff like that. Thank you for sticking with us all morning. We really appreciate you being here. So let's talk about this. So back to school tech talk on the wrap up. So if you are the tech safe person this year, the bulletin will be coming out shortly. The deadline is going to be February 25th for completing making sure you've certified, your principal certified that. All the resources that we've shared today are actually already on TechSafe under the resources section that Rebecca has carefully curated, and so it's already there. But we'll put them on the Tech Talk page along with the other resources that were mentioned in the session today on the Back to School Tech Talk page. One more thing we're going to talk about is in Digital Citizenship Week is the week of October 18th to the 22nd, which is sponsored by Common Sense Media. And we're going to have some mini live streams that week on different topics on digital footprint, and more resources will be coming about that in a little bit later. So we wanted to share that with you and stuff like that. One more thing we're going to share with, and we're very excited about this, our District Technology Conference, which is going to be virtual this year, is our registration is online now. You can go to the website technologyconference.palmbeachschools.org and register today. And so we really are excited about that. So that's kind of wrapping things up. John, did I miss anything? You're muted.
Nope. Sorry about that. I don't think so. I put all the resources in the chat, and again, everything will be on our website. We really hope you'll join us for our tech conference. It is going to be virtual, but it's going to be on this amazing interactive platform. We're going to have some great sessions with our presenters. So you're not going to want to miss it. It's our first PDD day of the year, which is October 15th. But you can register today, and then we'll keep you in the loop until the actual conference date.
I did forget one thing. We forgot our optimistic closure.
Yes. Do you want to have them do the chat entry first, and then we can have them do an optimistic closure?
Let's do the closure first, and then we'll do the door prizes.
All right. So let me share that one. Go ahead.
So if you'll take just a minute and respond to our last mentee for the day.
And let me get it in the chat. I'm just sharing it up there.
We want to share, we want to hear from you on the optimistic closure. What digital citizenship topics would you like to teach this school year? How would you like to incorporate some of the stuff today that you've learned or that you already knew into your classroom this year? It's just a short response. And we would love to see what you've done.
I also think that hopefully you got some great ideas today. From a wide range of presenters, starting with the why with Tanya, moving into the actual curriculum with our friends from Common Sense. So there's a lot of great resources out there, including ones that we've curated ourselves for you. So again, please feel free to jump into Menti using that code 72567482 or clicking on the link that I put in the chat box. And yeah, I think the digital footprint to me is one of the biggest ones that we really need to let our kids know about and adults know about. You know, it would be actually interesting to do a faculty meeting and share with the student or share with the staff the resources on digital footprint and talk to them about them, and then have your staff share it with your kids. So I'm gonna expand this a little bit so everyone can see. John, you want to share some too? We can go off.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on right here with the digital footprint, the media balance, the kindness and stuff like that, the student stewardship. I think that reached out because a lot of things the fake news. We're going to be hopefully doing some live streams on teaching research and finding the right resources and stuff like that throughout the year. Those sessions will be on our YouTube channel as well as our webpage with lots of resources and stuff like that. And there's a lot going on. So keep doing that while we're working. And I think we can start doing the door prizes now too, John.
I just want to interject one thing really quick, because the Tech Safe, not only does it have the curriculum lesson, it also has a lesson on password safety. And I think it's super, super important for our students. Although our secondary students are encouraged to change, or even were forced to change their password last year, many of them have reverted back to the default. Our elementary students, they can change their password. It's okay. Let them. You know, the formula was great until now we're all in Google Classroom. And in Google Classroom, you can see every student's student ID. If I'm in your class, I know that you're going to be either a year older than me or a year younger than me or the same year. And I know your initials. So I can easily hack your account. And while we don't want to think that our elementary students are doing that, in reality, we see it all the time. So please, please encourage your students to change their password, even in elementary, even in kindergarten. You can always, as the teacher, easily reset their password to the default in the portal. There's a tile there. So let's keep our kids safe. Let's teach them what a good password is. Be Internet Awesome has a really good lesson on that as well. And I'm telling you, even the kindergartners can handle it.
And that's where the word strong comes in, keeping your password strong, making it strong. So thank you, Rebecca, for that. That's awesome. All right, door prizes.
Yeah, so we have quite a few door prizes from some of our partners today. What we need you to do, though, is we need you to go into the chat and only do it once. But what we need you to do is add #TechSafe, all one word, and I will get that up on the screen here as soon as my computer wants to get there. So what you're going to do is type in #TechSafe, and just once. We don't need it 1,000 times. You don't need to spam the chat, just once. And this tool will automatically enter you. So I see we've got 3 already. We're going to just stand here for a second while we make sure everyone gets a chance to enter. And hopefully you found a lot of these, you find a lot of the resources you got today useful to use with your students, even at the beginning of this year. It's a great way to start the year. Obviously, we know our students need some SEL work at the beginning of the year, getting to know your community of your classroom, building that classroom community. But that could also be done with this digital side of things as well. So I'm going to give another minute or two. Yeah, make sure you spell it right. You've got to spell it right. Sherry, I also see you spelled it wrong again. That's okay. Just type it again. You're not spamming if you're typing it wrong, but go ahead and type it in there. We actually have 22 prizes to draw today, and so it's quite a bit. So it will take a minute for us to get through them all. I see we have about 67 in the room, but we've got 31 entries. It will continue to catch them. So if you come in after the first draw, your name will still be in there. But what we're going to do is we're going to draw this, and then if you are the winner, we need you to email Rebecca Smikla, who is going to send you a form, and just to get your school so we can pony you the prize that you won, right? So I see it going again, and so we're going to draw our first name, and our winner is, let's see, Lourdes Bernal. All right. So Lourdes, if you'll just reach out to Rebecca. Anyone in the team, can I have you guys type that name in our document as well, and I'll just draw the next one? All right. We got it. All right. So let's draw again. If you have not put TechSafe in the chat yet, #TechSafe, and it will add you. You only have to do it once because it remembers. And number 2, Lisa Seymour. Congratulations. We're going to draw again.
So while John's drawing, just the prizes, should we talk about what they are?
Yeah, sorry about that,
Rebecca.
So we generously got donations from BrainPop and from Google for these prizes. So 2 lucky winners will receive a BrainPop bag with a fun lanyard and some stickers, and I believe a bunch of pencils and pens. And then from our Google side of the house, they have the Be Internet Awesome actual curriculum for all of their lessons, as well as all of the cool stickers. So you'll see those that John talked about earlier, the Be Kind, Be Brave, which are really fun to give out to students when they maybe listen or work through a lesson. And there's also a nice notebook for you as the teacher to use to keep yourself organized. So lots of fun stuff from our partners in education from BrainPop and Google.
For sure. And again, it's going to take a second. Like I said, we've got 22 and it goes a little bit of time. I thought it actually took out the duplicates if someone won already. So look, Susan. I don't know, man. That's the 3rd time she's won. You may need to go play the lotto tonight, Susan. We've got 39 entries. All right, Nazareth, congratulations. Again, if you see your name up here as a winner, you're going to email Rebecca. She will get a form to you, and then she will then pony out your prize in the next couple weeks. It's not going to happen immediately, just so you know. With school starting, our team is quite busy, so we will get that to you as fast as we can. All right, Michelle, we're going to draw again. We have so many draws, it's slowing my computer down. All right, shake it, please. We got you, Nazar, so you got that one. We got you as a winner there. And Maria, congratulations. We don't have that name yet. That was prize number 7. So we're going to be here a little bit. And let's draw again. Come on. Moses, congratulations, Moses. Again, email rebecca.smikla@palmbeachschools.org. We have all these names on the list, so whenever we see that person come in, we will just make sure that person gets the form. Come on. We had Debbie already. No, Debbie, this is your first time. Congratulations, Debbie Siegel. Yay. Let me get rid of Menti. That might speed some things up. Nope, still going slow. Come on, confetti. Judy, congratulations. I think that's Dana typing. Yeah, Judy Dennis. I don't think Sherry actually won it, just paused on that one, but. Right, we'll draw again. We are up to number 11. Yes, I am too, Lisa. Congratulations on getting your media specialists out here today. Very cool to see all these schools represented, because we know that you guys are going to go back to your school and share this. So Lillian, you are number 11. Congratulations.
And remember to share with your colleagues too the recording. If they weren't able to see it today, they can always come back to the recording, because this is being recorded.
Exactly. And that is also right on our support site for this day's activity. The video is right there. It's embedded. Rebecca, number 12, congratulations. We have 10 more to go. All right. Oh, Tracy, congrats. We have a media clerk here as well. That's awesome. Very, very cool. Right, Lizette, you are number 13. Congratulations, Lizette. If you're just joining us, you have to do a hashtag TechSafe, all one word in the chat. If you've already done it once, you're good. You can see we have 39 entries. All right. Number 14 is Susan, but we had Susan again. Wow, lucky, lucky, lucky. Come on. Huh. I don't know. I'm going to have to tell StreamYard their giveaway tool might be a little rigged here, huh?
Sounds like it.
It doesn't look too random to me. All right, there we go. We have a new name, Vanita Fears. Congratulations. Lillian, just let her know that you won a door prize during the Tech Talk. Again, because we have your names and we have it on our list, that we'll know exactly who it is when we get there. So, all right, we won one. Congratulations. That was just a test, though. So, I just want to make sure it was collecting the names as we went. So, let's see. We're up to number 15, Michelle. I think that's the first time we've seen Michelle. Nope, we have Michelle. Might need to just grab some of these names. Patty, maybe. Sherry, is that Sherry's first time? Yep. Sherry Blandford, congratulations. That was number 15. Oh, I see some more people are entering. We're back up to 41. I see some new names flipping through here as it keeps pausing. Paula, I don't think it actually does eliminate, it doesn't eliminate the winners. This is a brand new tool from StreamYard, so we're testing it out here today. So it's not perfect yet. They're still building it. So we're not able to remove the names that have already won. Jennifer, I don't know if we've got Jennifer. Nope, Jennifer, you're a winner. Congratulations. And we're on number 17 right now out of 22. So about half the room is getting prizes, which is awesome.
That is awesome.
Rebecca, I think we had Rebecca. Yep. I'm going to have to email StreamYard. And it's teasing us as my computer lags too as to who may be in there and winning. So let's see. Moses, I think we had Moses, right?
Yeah.
All right, come on. Let's see. Jennifer, I think we had already. She just won twice in a row. Yep. Again, if you win, email rebecca.smikla and we will get you a prize. So Bentley, we don't know who Bentley P100 is because that's your YouTube channel, but we will look for you. Just let Rebecca know who you are. You are Bentley P100, and we will verify that with you. So now we are on number 18, so 5 more to go. Come on. Luck, luck, luck. And Sherry, we got Sherry, right? Yep. Curses. Some of you are lucky, lucky today. All right, Super Merle 1. Again, we don't know who you are officially, but I think someone knows who that is on our team. That name sounds familiar. And we got 4 more. We're on number 19. All right, come on. Tanya Smith. I think that's a name, right? Yep, Tanya Smith. TonyA. And 3 more to go. Draw again. Michelle Martino, I think we had her. Yeah. I see a lot of names in there that haven't been picked yet. So let's see. Did Sarah? I think that's Sarah's. Nope, we had her. She was an early winner back in right at the beginning there. Oh, come on. That looks like a new name, right? Victoria. Yep. Victoria Trent. Congratulations. We have 2 more spaces for winners. 2 more spaces. That's okay, Bentley. You're okay. You, as long as you email her, we trust you. We got your name now. So if someone, we're gonna put your name next to it. So just feel free to write just feel free to email and we'll get it to you. All right, let's see, 2 more, right? Oh, Lisa Seymour again. Come on, last 2. I don't think it's used to drawing this many prizes. Bentley again, come on. Oh, there's a new one, Allison Graham. Someone on the team want to type in Allison's name. Perfect. And come on, last draw. Allison, you were number 21. Here we go, number 22. Uh-oh, freezing again. Moses, we got you. Was that someone new? Yeah, we had her. Come on, one more. It's crazy because you can see all the names we haven't seen yet go by. There we go, Ms. Nanza. Sorry about that, I butchered that one. You are winner number 22. And so with that, we thank you so much. I'm going to bring John back up with the team.
Yeah, as the team comes back up, I just want to show you a couple of things real quick. On our website, check our calendar. We're going to be populating our calendar with a lot of live stream resources on PD days and stuff like that. That'll be virtual, and some of it may be face-to-face. Always check out our YouTube channel. All of the resources are going to be posted on our Back to School Tech Talk later today. You'll see all of the resources. There's the replay. This is a link to TechSave. We'll be done here. We'll be posting links from Tanya's session, Merv and Tali's session as well. And we're going to be posting down here below as other events that we've shared throughout the day as well. So we really appreciate you taking your time. Team, do you have anything you want to add before we say our final words?
Just want to thank everyone for being here. Teaching digital citizenship is really, really important. I know someone posted in the chat, it's going to be especially challenging this year after many students have been at home and their routines and their use of technology has been really on them. So doing our part, all of you teachers, I just really, really want to thank you for taking time out of your summer to come and be with us and talk about these really important issues.
I also want to thank everybody, and we wish you a great start to the beginning of the school year. And we want you to know that we're here to support in any way possible. So please reach out to us and let us know if you need any help or support.
I'll also say thank you for joining us on your summer last week before we go back to school for this very important topic that we're really trying to push this year after the year that we all had together. So thank you for joining us. And don't forget, our team is available, the entire EdTech team, to support you in all of your technology integration needs. So especially if you're looking for information on training or applications like what we're talking about. If you would email multiple of us on the screen in the same email, that way one person can get to you the fastest. If you email us once, or if you email us all individually, we don't know that you emailed another one of us, so we answer you. So to get your answer and to get you the answer the fastest, please email multiple of us here on the team. Dana, any last words?
On behalf of the entire department, just thank you so much for joining us for this so important topic, and good luck with the beginning of the school year, and reach out when you need assistance.
Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And just have those conversations with your students and just kind of like have a fresh start and a great start to the new year. And we're here for you. Just let us know if we can help you, and we'll have more resources and everything on our website. And you can reach out to us always by email. So thank you so much for spending your summer with us. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.